Well, we're getting started on this spar repair, and it previously had a splice, and I thought I would take a look at that and possibly use it, clean it up a little bit, but you can see that that doesn't line up the way that it should on the bottom line of the spar. Hopefully you can see that. I put a clamped a straight edge on this side just to take a look at that. And so what I'm going to end up doing is using this original spar. This came from a donor wing. I call it a donor wing. We happen to have a wing that we're robbing some parts off of. So we're going to go back to that original configuration where you got this fork out here. Need to do a little bit of decorrosion on this, but I'll make a cut here, and then we'll probably end up using some more of this to make my doubler piece out of it. Yeah, so we'll just take it a piece at a time, and I'll patch this video together. So one of the first things you're going to need to do is determine on where you want to put your cut. And I was looking at this, and because these rib holes are so enraged, they're like beyond messed up. I don't know if I can show you this. Maybe I'm in the frame there, but they were really messed up. So I'm going to go down beyond that. I come over here to a point that is about 23 5/16 from the tip of the fork over to here. There's a little hole, a little die hole right there. And so I'm going to use that to make my cut. And then I can rob from this to get some pieces to make this splice, or maybe even use this piece that I'm going to cut off. Yeah. Just a word to the wise: when you are getting ready to cut a piece of material out of here to use for my splice, and you want to take your square off the top angle of the wing, not the bottom angle. If you did off the bottom, all your cuts would be at an angle because of the dihedral. Yes, you have to deburr all your holes. This is going to be really cool. I'm digging this. Backing plate, of course. And my hole spacing. I did it closer than what the local rivets are, but it just made sense. Yeah, it's usually what makes sense. That's the way it goes. Yeah, deburr all your holes. All right, here's an update on the front spar splice. Got my pieces cut. Of course, this came off of my donor wing, this fork. There was a little bend in here, but it wasn't bad at all. I was able to straighten that right out. So I made my pieces. Get this little channel and this backing plate. You got to make them from the same size material, and so I used my old donor spar. If you don't have a donor spar, you're kind of, then if you go to the service manual, they'll tell you that it's often practical to cut repair pieces from spare parts listed in the parts catalog. So back when you could order these parts, they'd say, well, order a spare part and cut it up and make a splice out of that. This is a much better deal. So this is what used to be the fork. This is the outboard portion of it, so it was like that. Weird piece, I don't know where that came from. The funny thing about it, it was never reattached, even though it was flying. Yeah, and then the old pieces that came out, this must be a service kit, because I see some numbers on here, and it doesn't matter where you're at in the spar. You just stretch it out and you can still overlap it and get your rivets in there. But it was really, so many holes in it, and some of them are so oversized, it was really messed up. You can see how big the holes were. Those are like beyond anything used in a Cessna wing. So, yeah, I just fit this thing back together now and get that in there and find my, get my rivet spacing. And of course, if you're watching this, you probably know you take your rivet spacing from the surrounding rivets. These are probably 1.5 inches apart. I'll probably go a little closer than that. I get that. And I have a rear spar to do also, a rear spar repair. It's going to be the same kind of a thing. I'm going to take and splice. I'm going to have to build a channel and do that. But for the front spar splice, we're at that point. So there's a little update on that. Oh yeah, one of the things, whereas you can take this kind of a kit and you can move up and down the channel, if you use a piece from another spar and you want it to fit here, you may need to move where the radius is. And I know they don't teach you how to move a radius in school, or how to take that radius and maybe tweak it a little bit. So I just made a form block, got my router, and put a divot in there, and you would be amazed how easy it is with that, and then a good clamp or a hammer, and you can move that radius to where you need it, so you have a nice snug fit. Snug as a bug in a rug. Yeah, there you go. Get that put back together.